What's up? What's going on? This is the George on Tap, What's on Tap in Sports show. Today we're talking about everything that's happened in sports. So let's start off with primetime Kirk Cousins. And it got me thinking perceptions. A lot of times people tell you your first impression is your most important impression. And Kirk Cousins' impression his whole entire career was Kirk Cousins cannot play in primetime football. That was it. Kirk Cousins, primetime, big lights, fade him, fade him, fade him. But that's not really who Kirk Cousins is anymore. Kirk Cousins has shown himself to be much better in primetime now. Kirk Cousins has shown himself to be a pretty good quarterback when the lights are bright. Peyton Manning had this for years. Peyton Manning can't win the big game. Well, he started winning big games. In the NBA, LeBron James had this for the longest time. LeBron James is a choke artist. Well, he's won 4 NBA championships. I'm not saying that Kirk Cousins is now going to turn into Tom Brady and win multiple Super Bowls, but this Falcons team is a really good football team that's going to make the playoffs. Kirk Cousins threw for 5 football fields yesterday. 42 for 58, 509 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a pick. And it's not like his wide receivers killed it either. Mooney dropped one of the easiest passes towards the end of the game. We wouldn't even needed overtime to win that game if he caught that one, most likely. But it's crazy how people just have a perception on something and they're not willing to change it no matter what happens. And that's what happened with Kirk Cousins. Oh, wow, the Falcons got Kirk. Yeah. A couple weeks from now, don't worry, Michael Penix Jr. is going to be starting. I'm a Husky alum. Of course, I'd like to see Penix play, but Kirk Cousins is the better quarterback right now. Coming off an Achilles injury, isn't it crazy to say that Kirk Cousins coming off his Achilles injury has looked better than Aaron Rodgers coming off of his Achilles injury? Sure, he's not mobile. He's not moving the ball around much, but there was a moment in the game where he had to get mobile, and we saw him do it. He completed the pass right down the middle, and he had to sprint to the line of scrimmage and hike the ball down to put 1 second left on the clock. Sure looked like his legs could move in, and they sure did move. They moved pretty fast, if you ask me. Kirk Cousins now this year. The Falcons, by the way, are 3-2, and they've already played 3 primetime games. He led them to a comeback win and a game-winning drive against the Philadelphia Eagles. They played the Chiefs on primetime, where, by the way, they probably could have won the game. There was a pass interference in the end zone that wasn't called. That was a Kirk Cousins drive. And then this game against the Buccaneers, down, Kirk Cousins had to lead the team back, and he led the team back, plain and simple. So that's why I always say, don't first impressions are great, right? They kind of shape what we think of a human being, what we think of a movie. That's why there's movie commercials. They try to give you the best first impression. There's movies that, like Scarface, where it tanked in the box office. They didn't have a good first impression on it. Came out to be my favorite movie of all time and one of the best movies in history of movies. First impressions are great. First impressions are important. But don't let that just shape and dictate every single thing and every single opinion you have about a person, team, player going forward. Shoot, if we did, Brett Favre would have never got another chance. Baker Mayfield here wouldn't have had another chance. Sam Darnold wouldn't be 4-0 for the Vikings. And people would be saying, primetime Kirk can't play. He sure can. And the Falcons now are in a great spot where they can rack up some wins in this NFC South. An NFC South that's a little better than we expected. I mean, we do have Atlanta 3-2, Tampa 3-2, and New Orleans can go 3-2 if they and by the way, he did lead them to a comeback win and a field goal against the Saints as well. But Saints team that looks pretty good. They got the Panthers, Seahawks, my Seahawks. I'm not going to pick them to win. Buccaneers, Cowboys, Saints, Broncos. There's no reason they shouldn't be in the driver's seat for the NFC South. And maybe Kirk Cousins at home in the bright lights will win a playoff game, kind of like he did in Minnesota where he led a game-winning drive. when they said he couldn't win a playoff game. Kirk Cousins has been great. 500 yards. Poor Matt Ryan. He broke Matt Ryan's franchise record for yards in a game on Matt Ryan jersey retirement night. Good for Kirk Cousins, but remember, don't let first impressions always dictate how you feel about a quarterback. What's on tap? All right, we got 3 great NFL games this Sunday that I want to talk about. This is my 3 best games in the NFL this Sunday. As we're getting here into the heart of the NFL schedule, this is kind of when you start getting in a rhythm. You start knowing which bets you like, which bets are going to be, the best bets of a week. And I'm also going to give you like 3 unwatchable games too. But this is it. Like, I feel like once you hit into October, mid of October, even more, kind of have an idea what each team is, what they can do. So game number 1 is the Ravens and Bengals. This game is huge for multiple reasons. The Ravens are 2.5-point favorites on the road in Cincinnati, which is pretty crazy. That's basically saying if they're at home, they'd be 7-point favorites. I know the Bengals are 1-3, and they cannot play a lick of defense. This is going to be a high-scoring game. The total 49.5. I like the over. But overall, the Ravens and Bengals game is just going to be a shootout. I really believe that, unless the Ravens defense can shut down Joe Burrow, who's not been shut downable. Feel bad for Burrow here. He's having a fantastic season. 978 yards already, 7 touchdowns, 1 pick, and the Bengals are 1-3 in pretty much a must-win game. 1-4 is a hard hole to dig out of, but the Ravens also don't want to go 2-3. So this is one of those games where both teams are really, I wish this is the primetime game this week because both teams are really trying to win, which they always do. But Bills and Texans next. 2 teams that are 3-1. This game is all about leverage. The winner of a game will have kind of a driver's seat on either the 2 seed or being in striking distance of a 1 seed of the Kansas City Chiefs. I think it's really important that this game is known as a game where it's going to be a lot of passing yards. I think both teams are going to be looking to use their quarterbacks quite a bit, even though I like James Cook a lot this week in his rushing yards. But I think that after the beginning of a game where the Bills are going to try to dictate what's going on the ground game, all of a sudden you're going to see them airing it out a lot. I find this one also to be a high-scoring game, and you can see with the total being set at 47.5, it's going to be a high-scoring game. And my third game is in primetime, Cowboys at the Pittsburgh Steelers. 2 historic franchises. Anytime you have these 2 franchises meeting up against each other, it's bright lights. Cowboys are in must-win mode. Steelers are we real or not real mode. The Steelers are 3-1. Their defense is amazing. They're favorites. The Cowboys, they need a win. They cannot go down at 2-3, especially with the money they spent this offseason. So it's a huge game for the Cowboys and the Steelers, and it's going to be great on Sunday Night Football. So my 3 unwatchable games, I'll make this pretty quick, is Raiders Broncos. I know both teams are 2-2. One of these teams is going to have to go 3-2 to start the season unless it ends in a tie. The Broncos and Raiders game is going to be, it's total set 35.5, and I can't find a way this is going to get to 35.5 points. Patriots and Dolphins. God help you if you watch this game. This one is just awful. And the Panthers and Bears. I know it's Caleb Williams, but the Panthers are just, if the Panthers are playing on TV, to me, they're just unwatchable, plain and simple. So those are our 3 most unwatchable games in the NFL this week. But enjoy week 5 NFL action, starting to get into the heart of the schedule and knowing what each team is. This is part of a season where I really start dialing it in and start winning bets and enjoying games and knowing what to expect. All right, the MLB is making a huge mistake here. First of all, this is an NLDS and ALDS, in my opinion, more in the NL for the ages. Look, tonight's Friday. The only real big football game on is Michigan State and Oregon. Is it Oregon? I think it's Oregon. Michigan State and Oregon. Like, there is nothing to compete with. So instead, you're going to start your DS in the middle of college football and then go right up against the NFL. Like, what are you doing, baseball? Like, why do you think your ratings sometimes go down? And you have an ALDS. Let's talk about these teams. Tigers and Guardians. This is like the least intriguing series, even though both teams are good and the Tigers are hot. And the Tigers are like America's sweethearts right now, but just not like that interesting. And I've always said, guys, by the way, I do want to say this: winning comes in bunches for a city. Detroit Lions good, Detroit Tigers good. Interesting, right? Feel it like Kansas City, the Royals are in the playoffs. Chiefs are good, Royals are good. I always find it like interesting if you kind of look at like how city goes. A lot of times they follow each other and follow suit, especially Boston. But that's the least interesting series. And then the Royals and Yankees, I'll get to the NL here in a moment. Royals and Yankees. I mean, anytime the Yankees are in the playoffs, it's interesting. The Royals were limping into the playoffs and then won 2 straight, and now they're in the DS. But this is where, like, guys, if you put these on Friday night tonight, if you put the Mets and Phillies tonight, New York, Philadelphia, Bryce Harper versus New York, you'd have every single person tuning in. You'd have people excited to watch this series on Friday. But putting it at 1 o'clock against college football is a waste of prime time space. You're wasting prime time space here, MLB. You could have been the only thing that people cared about tonight. Instead, you put the Mets and Phillies at 1 o'clock. And then you got the Dodgers and Padres, the I-5 series. Players like Shohei Ohtani, Fernando Tatis, Manny Machado, Mookie Betts, all in one series. And you're throwing it at 5 o'clock against Michigan University of Washington and primetime college football on a Saturday? What's wrong with the Major League Baseball? You have opportunities here to make the best, like absolutely the most epic schedule ever. You could have done this on Friday and put a like 4 o'clock game, 5 o'clock game, 6 o'clock game, 7 o'clock game, and the whole country is going to be focused on watching Major League Baseball. Instead, you're putting the Dodgers and Padres with literally, you have the Babe Ruth of baseball right now, and you're putting them against college football. You guys got to do better. You must do better because this makes no sense to me. Baseball, you have a NL, both DSs that could be for the ages. Put them on prime time. And then if you go look, I'm just going to go through the schedule. Sunday, 1 o'clock Mets. And then Padres, Dodgers against Cowboys and Steelers. Major League Baseball, get your stuff together. That's all I can say. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. This is the Sports on Tap, What's on Tap show with George on Tap. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.